I have to say, I've been avoiding the Hostel movies for about 20 years now. I hadn't seen any of them, but I guess I had to change at some point. It looks like that point is now, because we're going to take a look at the timeline and see if it all works out. Uh, there was a point where these movies were a fairly big deal, although its reputation is like softened in more recent times. But let's dive in and see if they're easier than I thought, or if this continuity is going to be torture. Let's begin back in 2005 with the release of Hostel. There's this guy, who, believe it or not, was the guy under all those tattoos in the Suicide Squad, and this guy was the young Harry in the Dumb and Dumber prequel, because yeah, that existed, and they're traveling around Europe, and of course, Eli Roth cameos in his own movies. They also have a Swedish friend with them, and they're in Amsterdam, and when they get locked out of their hostel for missing curfew, they meet a guy named Alexei, and he convinces them to go to Slovakia. Along the way, they encounter an older man who creeps them out, and they arrive with everything seeming really great at first. They meet two beautiful women and end up going clubbing with them, and there's a poster up in the background that says 2004, so it's possible that that's the year. And the next morning, they're told that Ollie checked out on his own. They get a message from him that says that he went home, but he didn't, as his head has been cut off. That night, they go out again, but they're both drugged, and when Josh awakens, he's strapped to a chair, and that Dutch man is there and begins to torture him by drilling holes in him, and then cutting his Achilles tendons, and then finally slashing his throat and killing him. Paxton wakes up and goes outside, and there's a poster up advertising a concert for sometime in 2004, but I can't quite make out the month. But I think that's clearly putting us in 2004, unless both this and that other sign were old. There's then the Hostel ledger, and I can't be totally sure, but based on how the numbers are, I'm assuming this column is the date that someone checks in, and this one is the date that they check out. So they checked in on March 6th, and it shows a checkout of March 7th, which was meant to be today. So it's early March of 2004. Paxton finds the girls, and they tell him his friend is at an art show, and he goes there, and holy crap, Takashi freaking Mike is here? Paxton finds Josh dead and is dragged away, seeing a multitude of people being tortured there, and is strapped to a chair. A man comes in to do some work and cuts off Paxy's fingers, and then slips and falls and saws his own leg off, and then he's shot in the head. He manages to get free, encountering several close calls on the way, and finding out that it's a service that people pay money for, and they get to torture a human of their choice, but then goes back to rescue Kana, although she's already been disfigured. He gets her out and spots Natalia, Svetlana, and Alexei in the street and runs them over and kills them. They make it to the train, but Kana jumps in front of it, which allows Paxton to slip on the train and escape. He spots the Dutchman and follows him, and then either kills him, or if you've seen the director's cut, I guess kidnaps his daughter. That was a surprise mega hit, so of course a sequel had to follow. And one did with 2007's Hostel Part 2, with Roth returning to write and direct. We're shown a credit card that was issued in '06 and expires in '08, so we seem to be sometime later than the last one. But then we pick up right at the ending of that one, and Paxton is found on the train and admitted to the hospital. He tells the authorities about the hunting club, and they found the Dutch guy's body, so this follows the theatrical ending, and they kill him, but it's just a dream, as he's recovering with his girlfriend, Penelope. He's been hiding out for a while, and it's said that his mother thinks that he's still in Europe, so I don't think this is meant to be too much later on. And one day, she wakes up to find that his head has been chopped off in their kitchen. We're then introduced to 3 art students in Rome, and it's Wiener Dog, Bijou Phillips, and the girl who blew her brains out in the back of the van in the Texas Chainsaw remake. On the way to Prague, they encounter one of the nude models that they sketched, and she invites them to a spa in Slovakia, and the desk clerk is here again. They check in and are put up for bid by hunters all over, and the Kid Gang is back, with the winning bidders checking in for their experience. They have to get tattoos, which doesn't seem like a great idea. Like, shouldn't they do that after they make the kill? What if someone doesn't go through with it? Beth encounters Stewart, one of the men who paid to kill her, and Lorna is the first one taken away. She's hung upside down naked and is repeatedly sliced so that her blood drips down like Lady Bathory, eventually slashing her throat to kill her. Beth is then chased and encounters Sasha, the head of the club. Eventually, both her and Whitney are taken, and Beth finds a whole room of trophy heads, including Paxton's, and I guess Eli Roth's, and they're put in their rooms to await their torturers. Todd is meant to take care of Whit, while Stewart has Beth, but he seems to change his mind. The Toddster starts to cut into Whitney, but also chickens out and is told that he can't leave unless he finishes her, and they kill him. The last one had Mike, so this one throws in Ruggero Deodato as what else? A cannibal, and Stewart then kills Whitney. Beth gets the drop on him and ties him up, and when a guard comes in, there's a standoff with Sasha arriving, and Beth surprises them by revealing that she's actually very wealthy, but they tell her that she must kill someone before leaving, and she undongs Stu and then lets him bleed out. She then gets her tattoo, becoming a member, but like, really? Like a tramp stamp? Come on. She then kills XL, and there's no clear date in this one outside of that wallet in the beginning, so I think that sets us between 06 and 08. So real-time 07 sounds likely, and the intro bit with Paxton was likely back in 04, not long after the first one. And then there's a 3-year time jump until this one. The trilogy was completed 4 years later with Hostel Part 3 in 2011, which did not have Roth returning. It was instead directed by Sam Raimi compatriot Scott Spiegel. No relation. It begins with a familiar setup with a young man entering a hostel room, and there's a Ukrainian couple there, and it seems like Travis is the victim, but nope, he's working with the club and the couple are the targets. It's then revealed that we're not in Slovakia anymore, and the club is active in Las Vegas. There's then Scott here, heading out to Vegas for his bachelor party, meeting up with a couple of friends. And they meet up with a couple of young women who invite them to a party out in the middle of nowhere, which does turn out to be a party. Scott resists cheating, and the next morning, Mike is missing. And this guy is reading Vegas Rocks magazine, and it appears to be the May 2009 issue. So that may be our year. And sure enough, he's strapped to a chair, and we see that he's 28 years old. He gets defaced, and Terry Fader is playing at the Mirage, and his show started there in 2009. So yeah, we're past that. But it ran in 2020, so I guess it could be any time in that range. The guys enlist the help of Kendra to find Mike, but she reveals that her friend has also gone missing, and she is also in a room, killed by a bunch of cockroaches. The group is then lured to a warehouse, and they're all captured and taken away, but things take a turn when Carter reveals an elite hunting club tattoo and is let out. Justin is then killed by a woman in an elaborate costume, saving Scott as the main event. Carter is sent in to kill him, saying that he wants his fiancée for himself, and they used to be an item, but the club releases him, hoping for a show, which they get as Scott fights back and cuts off Carter's tattoo, escaping. The Ukrainian guy from the intro also gets loose, and he kills some guards, but is eventually shot. Scott frees Kendra, but she's shot and killed as well, and they order the building destroyed and all of the prisoners killed. Carter is still alive and kills the head of the club, and Scott fights Travis, eventually cutting off his arm and then clubbing him to death. Carter sees Scott and locks him in, and the building explodes, seemingly killing him. He then goes back to Amy, comforting her, but it turns out that Scotto survived, and they tie up carts and then kill him. So, outside of any other dates, and no connections to the previous two films outside of the existence of the club, will use that magazine cover to set this in 2009. So there you have it, 3 movies that actually, the continuity's fine. Like, these are pretty unconnected, with the exception of Paxton returning for the intro of the second one and then being killed off quickly. There's no real ties. Most of the Hostel characters are all different as well too. So yeah, there's no actual links. This is almost anthology-esque from movie to movie. And the timeline is fine. It just jumps a couple of years in between each one. So yeah, these are fine. I didn't dislike these as much as I thought I would. They're actually decent watches. I don't find them to be that great, but I also don't find them to be that terrible either. They're all right. They're fine. Let me know what you think of these down below in the comments. If you enjoy them, or maybe you hate them more than I do. I don't know. They're normal movies to me. Tell me that in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy the video. Hit the subscribe button if you enjoy the channel. And if you think about it, go to my Patreon page at patreon.com/movietimelines, where you can help support this channel like these guys do. I would appreciate that. And I also appreciate you just coming back and watching, because there'll be lots more videos coming up, and we'll see you very soon for another great one. Thanks a lot, guys, and bye-bye.